Hey everyone, and welcome to the PARQA PulseCast. I'm Travis Webb, VP of Sales at PARQA, and excited to be joined by Jared Hummel and Jason Bodie today. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the future of staffing. We're going to be talking Salesforce, automation, and all the other things that are next. But before we jump in, let's go ahead and do some quick introductions. Jason, let's start with you. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jason Bodie. I'm the president of Assist ATS. Been around healthcare staffing and other aspects of staffing for over 20 years, and just excited to be here and talk all things Salesforce and staffing with you guys.
Awesome. Jared?
Yeah, Jared Hummel, co-CEO and founder of PARQA. My background isn't quite 20 years like Jason, but spent most of the last decade as a CFO of a staffing firm, and then also working with other staffing firms around marketing and now technology. So excited to be here today with Jason, who we've obviously got to build a great partnership with, and excited to see where the conversation flows.
Yeah, let's cover that real quick. We met Jason, I don't know, maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, we got introduced, and if you've been following our story here at PARQA, second half of last year, we really made a switch from a digital marketing agency where we saw the future of Salesforce in the staffing and recruiting industry. So we really took our true north arrow and pointed in a different direction and said, hey, this is the future. This is what we see where we're going. So we met Jason and we learned about his product, Assist ATS. We've since then created a great partnership. We work together with several clients. We do implementations for the Assist product, along with some other Salesforce-based products. So it's exciting to have Jason as a partner join us today and talk through this conversation. So as we get going in here, we're going to talk Salesforce and staffing. We're going to talk automation. We'll talk about agents. You can't talk about Salesforce without talking about Agentforce. And we'll just talk about what we see as the future of the next 3 to 5 years. So Jason, I'm going to start with you. So as you look at, as the owner, CEO of Assist ATS, talk to us of what you've seen in the transition of kind of like that focus towards Salesforce-based systems in our industry over the last few years.
Yeah, when I think about even Assist, kind of our kind of history, we really started out as more of a consulting company supporting staffing companies with various ATS systems. And in that, there was a couple on Salesforce, but then the majority of it was built on, various technologies. And so I think Salesforce has really evolved from just where a lot of people saw it as kind of a CRM to much more of a platform. And I think more and more companies are realizing that on that platform, you're able to build out very business specific point solutions, which just frankly allow you to grow and be more efficient. So it's just one of these things where, not really surprised that you're seeing more and more of that in the market.
Yep. And Jared, from your side, do you think of our consulting business? Where do you see most companies either seeing the value in maximizing the Salesforce platform, or the other side of that is the struggle, right, to really take the power of Salesforce and leverage it?
Yeah, I think Jason kind of started it off how I would have I think there was this misconceived notion that it was just a CRM when in reality it's a platform. And in my experience with ATSs throughout this industry is that it's kind of a set it and forget it model where you try to get the cheapest implementation and then maybe buy a bucket of hours here and there. And it's Salesforce is so powerful that it's an ongoing, ever evolving solution that should be driving your business and your gross margin and your profitability. And if you're just looking at it as a set it and forget it model, I think you're going to struggle in today's staffing world, but B, Salesforce wouldn't be your choice. And so I think that, we have a couple of great partnerships going on right now with Jason and his team of clients that really believe in Salesforce as a platform and have no issues and no vision of stopping spend on creating a more efficient operation.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see the gap there where, I still think a lot of people look at Salesforce as a super expensive CRM or like old school Rolodex. I'll date myself there, right? Like I think a lot of people look at it as it's a CRM, whereas we also, on the other side, you have a lot of people that look at the traditional ATS systems as only an ATS, right? So it's missing some of that functionality. So I think that gap, one of those gaps there is, people look at Salesforce as a CRM, and in reality, it can be the operating system for your whole business, right? Because if you think about it from the CRM side, from the candidate side, now that the ATS functionality is built into it, to experiences, to marketing, to payroll, to, there's just so many possibilities there that I think, just make it a solution. And, the myth out there of the affordability, I think people really need to dig into. So, there's plenty of solutions out there that are in line with traditional ATS systems that have a lot of power behind them. The possibilities out there are crazy, right? Like if you think of it and you want to do it, you can actually go make it happen.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it starts with what you said, Travis, where if you go back to what I said earlier, people having that mindset shift of this really is a lot more than a CRM. I think along with that, you have these people recognizing that this is really our system of record because it's where data is originating. It's where we spend the majority of our time, right? I think there's been this misconception that, in the past where, hey, if it doesn't have a GL or a ledger, it's not really a system of record, where I don't think that's the case. And then to your point, I think when you think about staffing and what Jared was saying, the mindset of set it and forget it was because, well, hey, there isn't really anything out there that is a perfect fit. So as a result, I'm just going to get the cheapest solution I can because I'm viewing this as a cost, not as something that's going to add value to my business. Where I think now, like when I look at Assist, I mean, part of the system is a CRM, but then it goes far beyond that, right?
Yep.
When you start thinking of mid office and back office, and then you think of the ability to integrate marketing and all these other tools, it gets to where clients now are able to look at this completely different, right? It's no longer, oh my gosh, this is a cost. It's like, hey, this is a tool that if used right is really going to allow me to do all the things I want to do with my business.
Well, I think that's I usually use like more top of funnel metrics, like, 65% of all people that are placed off of Indeed were already in the candidate or already in the staffing firm's database. But like, I think Jason also, I don't want to quote the things, but like with your credentialing apps and stuff, like teams have been cut down from 10 to 2 or whatever, just by using a tool that worked for them. And then those people are redeployed into revenue generating activities or whatever. So like, it's that mind change from, like you said, Jason, of like, what's the cheapest cost because this is a necessary evil, to like, how are like all these big business problems that exist in staffing can be addressed when you have a platform like Salesforce driving it. And
yeah, and it's one of the great things about Salesforce. And I mean, there's so many examples in other areas where people have been able to create these point solutions that are they're tailor made for a business. And then it just creates huge advantages and efficiencies. And look, some of it just starts with when we were building Assist, we built it on the premise that you are one team, one company, you should have one system. Like there's no reason why, sales and recruiting should be in one system and then credentialing or travel should be in another. Because how do you know what the other's doing? How do you get efficient data reporting? I mean, it just causes all these problems. So just putting everybody in one system, it's been a game changer for clients.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple words that we've mentioned here that I think are buzzworthy, right? Number one, platform. I feel like our industry as a whole right now, everybody's trying to call their systems platforms. That's the new buzzword of getting away from ATS or, that seems to be where everybody's system is now a platform. And then the other word is integrations, right? You think about integrations and other platforms where the platform is all integrations, right? Versus, when you get into Salesforce and you think about whether it's Marketing Cloud or Experience Cloud or some of these others, like with data, your direct, Salesforce native solutions that are all tied together with the same engine on the back end, right? Which is important because we all know APIs break, right? Integrations.
Sure.
Talk about not set it and forget it. If you're integrating, you're doing integrations, you're not setting it, forget it. Somebody has to watch that. So I think that's another very powerful piece of Salesforce. And then you look at the App Exchange, right? And you think about, hey, I'd like to do this. And some systems you're limited, and they still have marketplaces, and we're part of marketplaces for other non-Salesforce systems at times. But if you go to the App Exchange in Salesforce, if you think of it, there's probably 2 or 3 people in that App Exchange that already have it built in Salesforce, and so it'll integrate natively. So I just think that's a big advantage there as well.
Yeah, and look, it's just different philosophies. So, that was another thing when we started this. We felt like our competitors' viewpoint of this was, we're going to build a base CRM, and then we're going to expose you to all these partners that's who you'll leverage for credentialing or scheduling or these different areas in healthcare staffing, right? Mm-hmm. And, in some situations, maybe that worked, but I think on a whole, it creates challenges, especially as you scale a business, where our philosophy was, we're going to build this stuff native, but we're going to do it, to your point, on a platform in an ecosystem where, like Marketing Cloud and other things, there are products that are basically native to Salesforce. So you're not connecting that stuff via an API. It's inside the environment.
Yeah. So let's dig into that a little bit more, Jason. So let's talk about some client success stories real quick. So think of a scenario where, your product Assist ATS plus Salesforce was able to go in and work with a company to, whether it's streamline processes or workflows, to really gain efficiency. So can you walk us through one of those success stories?
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. I had a call last week with a client on this, and anybody who's been around healthcare staffing, in particular locums, understands that for as long as I've been around the business, there just really hasn't been technology that is specific for healthcare staffing. So because of that, it's forced people to have just a number of manual processes in different areas. So it's always been one of these things where, as you're successful and you grow the top line, you're kind of forced to increase costs because you're going to have to continually hire and add more things in order to scale and just handle the volume of the new business.
Yep.
Where this client we were talking to, it's little things. So in Salesforce with our product, you obviously, like we've talked about, you have Sales Cloud, you have kind of the internal CRM applicant tracking piece, but then you have Experience Cloud and portals. So now providers, rather than having to do time manual, they can go into this portal and they can do their time. They can confirm schedules. They can set availability. They can upload credentials. And then clients are able to go in and approve time, check invoices. And so the feedback that we've gotten, especially like from clients and providers on these portals, it's just been, it's awesome. I mean, it saves time. It, saves money, reduces error, right? And then to your point, it's like in a lot of these areas where, whether it's credential or travel, where you've just seen these clients have to hire all these people.
Yep.
Now they're finding that, the number of files that a credentialer can handle in our system, it's up in some cases 50, 100%. So you're seeing these people be able to handle that function with half of the staff. So now, to your point, Travis, they can reassign those people, right? Maybe they move them to sales ops, or maybe they actually go into a full desk production type of scenario.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I think with all of that, the biggest compliment we've had is that people have been in this space 15, 20 years, have said, Jason, this is the first time ever where we've been able to increase our business. It's like we have one client tell us, hey, in the first 15 months of August this year, we've booked more days than we did the previous 60 days. And we've seen a 50, 100% increase in name clears and presentations, and all the while reducing costs.
Yep.
I mean, and sometimes when we tell that to new prospective clients, I mean, they don't always believe me, because they're like, Jason, I've been around this a long time. I mean, and I'm like, I understand, but, this is the first time you've ever had a technology partner that is completely not just focused on your business, but who actually understands it.
Yeah, and I think that's as important as anything. Is I come from 20 plus years in the industry. I did technology mainly, did some engineering, but man, I tell you, getting into locums and you look at, the timekeeping and the shifts, and it's, shift differentials. If you take a lunch, or if you don't take a lunch, if you work after 7 p.m., if you work overnight, it's like this decision tree that just goes on for days and days. And you're like, if in a traditional staffing role, I would never think of that. Like, my people worked 40 hours a week, and if they worked over 40, they got overtime. It was that simple.
Yeah,
and then we come to this, and it's just it's beyond complex.
It is.
Yep.
It is. It gets crazy, and then no two companies do this exactly the same in the space.
Yep.
And it does come back to, I don't know if I've ever seen a business where you can have one situation with this infinite outcome attached to it. Like,
Yep.
the scenarios are just, in some cases it's endless.
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely had some scenarios, and we've learned some lessons over the past few months with all sorts of different situations there. So that's exciting. Jared, how about from your side? If you think about it, a success story where we've seen a client or a customer align with Salesforce and see wins or efficiency.
Yeah, I think the one that first comes to mind is one that recently just happened in the last couple of months, and it was kind of going back to our integration and platform conversation, because I feel like in general this industry still sees the ATS as like the cornerstone, and I think that that's changing. We'll call it CRM, but like, if you're listening to this conversation, you know that that's like the true platform of of Salesforce. And so this company decided that Salesforce was going to be their true platform. They were going to take a CRM first approach, but the ATS that they were trying to connect to it, they were on, I think, 3 to 3.5 years of trying to do a non-native integration into Salesforce, and Salesforce came to us, and it was actually like a 5-minute conversation, because we're like, you need a Salesforce ATS that actually integrates with Salesforce. And so, it was exciting for us, and it was a big company that, we ended up driving the largest ACV through a ISV in all of Salesforce globally in Q2. So it was just like, it's just a simple simple thing that it was like integration, like decide which one is your main, like is your ATS your main or is your platform your main? They decided platform, and they were live on R0 within 3-4 months, Travis, 4 years of hell for just a simple misalignment on what True North looked like.
Well, and to your point, it's interesting. It was CRM and agents on the front end on the sales side, and ATS was a legacy system. So just the ability to get all those folks aligned and on the same platform, integrated, working in the same system, is big there. So, from my side too, I look at just Salesforce as a whole, right? Like there's different solutions out there. Obviously, Jason and his team right now are really dialed in on the locums market, which is where their main focus is for now. And, there's others that are out there. So, I would just say, as you look at solutions, I think people need to look big picture and really think about, hey, am I making a decision for today, in the middle of August of 2025, or am I making a decision long-term for my business? And as I look at, what the possibilities are with Salesforce, I think there's a big argument to be made there that you should definitely, if you're not considering it, you should absolutely put in your list of things you should take a look at and look at the possibilities that are out there for that. Jason, so let's talk the future. What excites you most about the future of Salesforce and staffing?
Yeah, another thing I think about Salesforce as a platform that's just, I'll say, a little underrated is just their commitment to the future, iterating, improving their product. You think about Agentforce as a prime example. Obviously, to your point, you can't go anywhere today, whether it's a client or a social event, without that coming up. So, definitely as we move forward and that, kind of model matures, it's exciting to think where this stuff is going to go, honestly. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I looked earlier just because, and I'm not going to proclaim this to be true, even though we know the internet's always right, but I looked up and they said that Salesforce would spend $5.5 billion in R&D this year for fiscal year 2025. So if you think about that, I was thinking about that too, like some of these platforms and systems, if you took every dollar ever invested in it, every dollar ever brought in by customers, maybe multiplied it by 3 or 4, still would not get close to just this year's R&D budget, which, I think is pretty wild. So
that's the critical, I had it in my thought process, and Jason kind of kicked it with this question, is just with the future of AI and the investment Salesforce puts in, the struggle that everyone has is their technology foundation and their data foundation. And if you're choosing to put it into an all-in-one ATS system, they're going to promote AI, they're going to say that they can do it, but at a $5.5 billion clip with the technology that they already have, with if you're looking at building the future staffing business, I can tell you that I would want to have my data live in Salesforce, because as AI becomes a bigger and bigger component, they're going to be ahead of the curve, and it's going to be hard to fight them.
Yeah. And look, another just huge benefit to Salesforce to me is kind of the flexibility it gives you when you think about the future and iterating and growing your software. We're an awesome example of that, right? Where, we're able to iterate and deliver functionality where on other platforms, there's no way you could do it, right? And the fact that Salesforce is constantly kind of, to your point, Travis, spending all this money, understanding that AI, hey, we need to make sure that from a data and from a software standpoint, we're ready to handle that, right? Whether you're using our internal Salesforce AI tools or whether you're connecting and using outside stuff. Everything they do at a very foundational level allows you to take almost think of it as instant action And I mean, I think you've seen it. Like if you compare them as a software company to Microsoft or SAP or Oracle, I mean, I personally feel like they're outpacing those people for a reason.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say too is, particularly in healthcare, right? But I think it's going to continue to ramp up in our industry as a whole, is the merger and acquisitions, M&A.
Yeah.
And people don't think of it. People think of the business, but the software on the back end that's running your business is a big part of that conversation.
Big deal.
Right. And they're looking for, whether it's Salesforce based or one of the major players, if you think of the larger organizations that merge, PE investments, things like that. So that's another where I think there's a positive, just for the platform as a whole. Integrating from Salesforce to Salesforce is a lot easier than, a one-off or home built, another platform, whatever you want to call it, into that, can be a challenge at time and a major cost, right? So I think that's one thing. I know I've heard that from a couple PE firms where they actually do look at the technology that's behind the business as well for the evaluation.
Yeah, they do. And look, the stigma, if you will, from a Salesforce standpoint, that I think people like us are really helping with and change the narrative, is that, there have been a lot of people that have bought Salesforce. And then one of the best things about it is, it's like we talked about, it's a powerful system and there's so much you can do. But I think that at the same time, that can cause people problems. So when you're dealing with people who don't understand your business, right, don't come from that business, then, you can also find yourself where, you purchase a great platform and then it really maybe isn't the platform, it's the people who are implementing or setting up the platform, right? Which is, from our standpoint, one of the reasons why we were excited to connect with you guys, but really partner with you guys, because, you understand staffing, right? Yep. Like, you can't take someone who says, hey, I've spent, 25 years in semiconductors, but I know I can build you a healthcare staffing platform. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that's
it's like we can't do semiconductors. So.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, by the way.
I don't need to get close to semiconductors. That's too advanced for my brain. But yeah, it's your point, Jason. Like, I mean, we have, like, I say this in every interview, is like, it's a competitive differentiator for us, but it's also an onboarding issue because there's only so many people that understand staffing and Salesforce. And so, like, we have to get our right mix of finding people that do have staffing background, and we got to onboard like crazy to expedite that process, because we're seeing it firsthand as a consulting firm. The times that we get into conversations that we frankly probably don't deserve to be in, but we're in it because we're the only ones that know it.
Yeah, no, look, we run into it too. I mean, I always tell people that I don't hire anyone unless you have healthcare staffing experience, period. Yeah. So if you don't come from the space, because I am never going to be able to get you up to speed in any reasonable time on this thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
All right, let's go a little rapid fire here as we come towards the end of our episode here. So, Jared, we're going to start with you on this one. What is one myth about Salesforce that you'd like to bust?
I mean, you already ruined my cost. I was on the way home from a conference a couple of months ago, and there was a couple staffing people sitting a couple rows behind me, and the whole time that they were just griping about, well, Salesforce is coming everywhere. It's so expensive. Like, no one, like, why would you spend money on it? And I'm like, it just blows my mind as an accountant, because I watched firsthand as the CFO of a staffing firm how inefficient the whole staffing industry is, from throwing bodies at things, spending money on job boards, and like just changing that stigma. To me, I hate to I wish it was something new, but it just drives me batty that that the industry still can't see that using a tool that is driving your business and driving your gross margin and driving your ad spend and driving your internal headcount. Like, how can you not see that? Like, I don't factually, Jason probably knows better than both of us, but like, I don't know what the actual license fee difference is, but even if it's $1 different or $5 different, like, I would trade that in a heartbeat to be on a system that's innovating at the level we're talking about, flexible on the level we're talking about, reducing costs at the level. Like, it, to me, it's just like it pulls my hair out at night why the industry is not even going faster, frankly.
Well, and to your whole point, Jared, I think people link it to just the CRM side, and we talked about in the beginning it being an operating system. We didn't talk reporting and analytics, but I mean, in one system, you have your recruiters and their outreach, you have your sales and their performance. So the ability to forecast your entire business out of the one platform instead of gathering data, having to build out, data warehouses and build business intelligence teams. And, we see a lot of that where it's you can't get the data from one place. So you add all of these other costs and expenses versus, give us a few hours and we'll build you a dashboard and we can show your whole business in pictures, whichever ones you want, whichever graphs you want. Like, we can make that happen. And I think that's a very powerful part of it there. Jason, how about you? One myth you'd like to bust?
Yeah, I think it's both the things we've been talking about, right? Number one is people that are like, maybe think that, Salesforce, it's not going to be able to do everything I need to do. It's just a complete fallacy, right? I mean, the product it really does give you the ability and it starts with Jared, with their data structure and the way the system is built for you to absolutely build a system, whether it's front office, mid office, or back office, that is tailor-made for your business, right?
Yep.
I think the second thing is, you're right. We live in a time where it's this Amazon effect where everybody is so focused on price that they sometimes miss the big picture of cost, right? So I've always thought, like, if you go to a car dealership, do you really care about the sticker on the window, or do you care about the number in the finance office that you're signing your name to? And that's the way this is, right? It's about, hey, are you really going to focus on this license cost is $5 or $10 more? Or are you going to focus on, hey, I'm going to be able to double the size of my business and I'm not going to have to add one single person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I don't know many business owners that wouldn't take the latter and pay $5 or $10 more.
I hate to oversimplify it, but it's like, you got to know what you're going to do with that car when you go to the car lot. And if you're going to be drag racing with it, like, you're not going to buy a Honda Civic and hope to beat a Ferrari. Like, the prize money at the end is what you want, the $1 million payout when you win the race. And like, come on.
Exactly. Come on. Yeah. And look, I think like what you guys are doing here on, these type of, podcasts and the outreach you do is that, look, there's a lot of noise in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I do think the more we can do to educate people appropriately that, hey, these are the real facts. These are the real outcomes that we see all the time, where this is just, it's for a lot of people. I mean, it's just a game changer for their business.
Yeah.
Well, so that's what I think. Like, just I guess plug both of us, but plug Assist too is like, I mean, we've come up together with pretty cost competitive implementations and stuff. Like, if you're getting fed the like, oh, we're a 10-person firm and it's going to cost us $250,000. Like, no, it's not. Like
that's exactly right. We're going to do this. Yeah, you're right. And look, to your point, I mean, you're upfront as well as you're run and maintain. It's just super competitive solution, and you're going to get something that is designed and meant for you.
Yeah.
I'd say if there's a myth I would have, and I don't really know if it's a myth, but I think it's something that's really cool is, um, you know, I think people thought Salesforce didn't care about staffing and recruiting in the past, and that might be true.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, we're an industry on their website. I get called by their sales reps all the time asking them to jump into meetings with them with new logos for them, for people that are considering Salesforce for staffing and recruiting. I know, Jason, you get them. Yep. It's the going to Dreamforce. There's sessions at Dreamforce around staffing and recruiting. So they are definitely paying attention. There's a lot of buzz in the community. So I think that's one where I think that's a big advantage for us is, sales reps before, I'm not saying they didn't completely stay away from them, but it wasn't real exciting. Now there's all these solutions that we're bringing to the table that can get them in the door and help them solve things. So that's mine on that. Last thing, if there's one action item to do this quarter, Jason, I'll go back to you on this one.
I mean, look, I would definitely spend some time researching Salesforce as an option for your business. And look, I think that, now is a time where it's really exciting with where technology is. And I think Salesforce is a platform that not only allows you to support your business today, but it will allow you to take advantage of all this new stuff coming in the future.
Yep. Jared, how about you?
Yeah, I guess I've seen it in the what I would call really good forward-thinking companies that we've worked with Jason. And I would encourage, because we've had other Salesforce clients come to us that don't frankly have a tech roadmap or even a current state of their tech. And Travis will have to correct me, but there was one that had wasn't it over 200 apps that they were connecting?
It was a lot.
and I mean, it was a ridiculous number that you couldn't even imagine. But I would say if you're gonna educate yourself on Salesforce, which is the obvious recommendation from all of us, is start with looking inside and just saying this is a cluster and we're going to try to solve this. And I think you'll find in trying to solve it that Salesforce provides a lot of good options for you.
By the way, that story, it's making me laugh a little bit because we worked with them. We helped them eliminate a bunch of systems and save several $100,000 a year in licensing fee. And then we hit a pause button and then we reconnected about a month later and then already started 3 or 4 pilots of other systems to put right back into it. So, what do you do, right? What do you do? For mine, I would just say, evaluate your current system. If you haven't done it in a while, take a look at it. Find one process, one thing that you can automate. And if you haven't done it, start small, grab one, start doing it, watch how it works, watch the efficiency, watch the time it frees up, and then think about the possibilities out there. There's so much information out there around Salesforce and Agentforce and all the cool things they're doing. Some of the other platforms are building Agentforce that are Salesforce based. They're all starting to bring Agentforce into it as that continues to grow. So I would just say, dream big, take a few minutes and just kind of think about the future like we've been talking about here and think about what you could do with those tools and those things. So last thoughts. So just anything you'd like to leave the audience with before we wrap up today. Jared, I'll start with you.
I guess I'll just say what Jason is doing for locum tenens, I think is fascinating because it is that true understanding of a business and creating a system that aligns to that business. And so I think it's a real exciting time. I think, Jason would attest to this, that it'd be good for the industry if there was 5 assists in each different vertical, because that is how nuanced it is and how you can get results. And, I just think that's a very forward-thinking part of Assist and what Jason's doing, but also where the industry is going. It's just an exciting time because I just see that and I'm just oh my God, this is this is awesome. Wow. This is where the industry is going, regardless of PARQA and Assist. So, my last thought is that's a Jason's ahead of the curve, and that model is something that's truly exciting to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just think it's a real exciting time in business, but also in technology. I think as long as I've been around, this is just one of these inflection points where whether it's AI or, like even crypto stuff with blockchain and things like that, you think about Salesforce and kind of how they pioneered the cloud in a lot of ways. I mean, it's exciting to see. And I think it's important for people to really evaluate kind of what you're doing now. And look, maybe if you've thought of technology as kind of a cost, or, hey, like maybe it is too expensive and that's your kind of barrier to entry, or maybe why you're not doing more with it. I think now more than ever is a time to maybe reconsider that and start to evaluate things again.
Yeah. I would leave the audience with this. Obviously, listening to the three of us talk today, we're excited about Salesforce. Our companies are rooted in Salesforce. We see a very bright future ahead. We do agree it can be overwhelming. And as you start to think about this, or you walk away from this conversation, you're like, man, I should look into this. I don't know where to start. I'd love to talk more, or you have more questions. Reach out to myself, reach out to Jason, reach out to Jared. We're happy to jump on a call. We're happy to talk through it with you. And just talk about what's out there and what the possibilities are. From the PARQA side, we're more than happy to walk through your current tech stack with you, identify areas of opportunity, things that we see, and give you our thoughts on that. But, like I said, take a few minutes, dream big, look at what's out there. New products coming all the time. I just thought about it talking through this. Jason, I think Salesforce announced yesterday or the day before they acquired another AI company that they're going to build and roll up under their Agentforce product to enhance that capability. So it gets better every day, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not going back. They just keep adding more and more. So Jason, Jared, I really appreciate you guys joining me today. This is a great conversation around Salesforce. Jason, we're excited to be in a partnership with you and the team at Assist.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you guys.
Jared, I'm glad I get to deal with you every day. I really enjoy it.
You have to work with me, bro.
Just
you drove yourself into a dead end there, buddy.
In all seriousness, I really do. I met Jared almost 3 years ago and have joined the team at PARQA, and I've been a part of a big transformation over the last 30 months, and super excited about where we're headed with this. So let's reach out. But with that, thank you for joining us for our latest episode of the PARQA PulseCast, and stay tuned for our next episode soon.